Thank you so much for being here. I'm very delighted to be at IIT Delhi and to be with the smart brains of IIT Delhi here. I'm also looking forward to my interaction with my fellow colleague in the industry, Biju. I'm sure he also has a lot of interesting stories to share. As an opening thought, as the students mentioned, I love the name of the festival, Kaizen. Uh, I looked up on what it means and what it is. And to my delight, it turned out to be a Japanese word. I love Japanese words, they have beautiful meanings. I named my son also a Japanese name because it has a beautiful meaning. His name is Kazuo, also with a K. It means man of peace. And Kaizen is also very deep. It has a very, very deep and earnest intent. Kaizen means continuous improvement, to be continuously working on yourself, to improve yourself in any way, be it spiritually, be it in terms of your work, be it in terms of the kind of person you are, the kind of ethics you have. And that's also a lot about what journalism is. In the newsrooms, when we're having news edit meets, we might feel very happy about our last story. We're on a high that we've done a very successful reporting assignment, but the editors are always there to tell you that you are as good as your last story and you will be tested again for your next story. So, no amount of good work is enough, even in journalism. It's a question of continuous improvement. So that is a lot in line with the philosophy of Kaizen as well, which is the name of this festival that we are here in. And we'll get into what our thoughts are as far as beyond the headlines is concerned, because there's so many layers to a story that a journalist works on, or what all of us editors decide on what needs to be reported. A lot of stories get buried in that rush. But today's crisis, I think, is the disruption caused by fake news, which is my biggest concern today. And we'll get into it deeper. But for opening thoughts, this is what I have to say. So Biju started in print, and just to quickly give my backstory as well, uh, somehow I was very focused in communication, mass communication. I decided in class 12 that I want to enter mass communication because my areas of interest were led to the media. I wanted to do photography. I loved public speaking. I loved current affairs and debating. So I did my master's diploma in journalism from Jamia University, and I started in 2002 with Reuters and ANI, and thereon I went on to CNN, IBN, TV Today, Bloomberg, Doordarshan, various other places. So that's just a very, very brief recap on my journey as well. But I'm sure you guys have more questions which will
Yeah,
kind of further channelize the conversation. So
yeah.
carry on.
There is nothing like a ethical issue. People
Right.
are very much concerned how journalists are very much ethical or not. In every profession, there is ethics. Journalism also has its ethics because we remain in a public platform. We have to be more mature.
Right. I really wouldn't call it a dilemma because I think you have to be very clear in your mind that um, there's no two ways about compromising on your ethics. And in journalism, it's always about giving the true picture, speaking truth to power, and making sure that you give the real story to your readers, to your listeners, to your viewers, whichever platform you're working in, whether in print, television, digital, radio. It's about holding truth to power. And there are no two ways about it. You will always be in a position where someone in a position of power will try to compromise a story that you're working on. Uh, but you should be clear in your mind that the reason that you've entered journalism is not about glamour, especially in my area of journalism where it's television and you immediately come on camera, whether you're reporting or whether you're anchoring. Like like someone like me who was always the face of a news channel in prime time debates and afternoon prime debates in whichever channel I worked at. But this is all a periphery of journalism, the glamour or the fame that you get, and if you get. I think the core of journalism is always giving out a true story. So there's never a dilemma in that. You have to have it very clear. I know a lot of people would come to me, watch me on TV, see my shows, and take autographs and say that they want to enter television because they find it very glamorous. I said, if you're coming in for glamour, please go to Bollywood or please become a model. You are here to tell a story. You are here to represent people, to also support citizen issues, civil rights. Wherever there is an atrocity, you speak about it. Wherever there is a farmer's protest, you listen to what the farmer is saying and not necessarily what the POV of the government in power is. Um, there are so many situations where in which, yes, you can feel safer doing a soft story. Uh, but when you enter journalism, you need to understand what your focus is. It is a service to society. Some of us get paid very well, some of us get paid an average salary, but at the end of the day, journalism, news is a soft power of a country, and it is a service to society and people in the country in which you are reporting. And that needs to be foremost in your mind. That's what I feel.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Hmm. Right. I think this is something which is foremost as a very primary concern for all us journalists today. When we were brainstorming on our session and we decided we're going to be looking beyond the headlines or what it says, we are today historically placed in a position in time where we have the maximum number of news consumers in the world. There have never been more people in the world consuming news as is today, because earlier when people consumed news, it was by choice. You made a choice to buy a newspaper, you made a choice to put on television at 9 p.m., you made a choice to put on the radio to hear the bulletin. Today you get news on your social media feed even if you don't want to see the news. Therefore you are a news consumer, and social media has made us the biggest news consumers ever that the world has had. And in that news consumption, you have to be very mindful where this news is coming from. um, I remember in 2023, I was invited to Beijing by the BRICS nations. You're aware of the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So the BRICS nations was having a media forum, and they had invited two journalists from India, two from Russia, and two from the other countries, and I was one of them. And I remember saying that this is the biggest challenge, not just people in the profession, not just a biggest challenge for people like Biju and I who are in the industry. This is the biggest challenge for you as news consumers as well, which is why your question is so valid. You don't know what you're watching. And which is why this is a joint effort from all of us. From It should be a joint effort from each one of us on where we're consuming news from. I was shocked that in Beijing, uh, the the biggest news consumption happens from a platform like TikTok. People are consuming news on TikTok, and in TikTok it's full of parody and rubbish. How do you know what you're seeing is news? I was shocked, and I said, this is happening here as well now. I mean, people are consuming news on Instagram, and there are some people that call themselves Instagram journalists. um, so I mean, how short can a format be? I think it's going to be YouTube video short journalists as well now, where you just say something in 5 seconds and that's done. That's hugely tragic. And if you're consuming news from preferably a legacy platform matlab ke a news organization which has been established for doing news for decades, like an Indian Express, like a Times Network, like a TV Today, like The Week, like the Frontline. These are all legacy platforms, and if you're consuming your news from that, it's good. Although sometimes they can also fall victim to fake news. So I guess that's the test of our time today, that you need to be very mindful of what you're consuming. I remember when the Ukraine Russia wars was going on, a lot of people asked me, what do we figure of the war? Because some people are watching CNN, where you know who the villain is, Russia. So I said, get an alternate and watch RTV, Russia TV, so you know what's happening there as well, where Russia has its point of view as well on what's happening in Ukraine and why. I think the matter is largely settled on what's happening on the Ukraine Russia war and who's the bigger enemy there. But you have to consume news from both sides of the coin now, because it's our responsibility and your responsibility not to fall victim to fake news, not to fall victim to just one side of propaganda, if you may. But as a responsible news consumer, you have to work hard to get a 360-degree view, just as much as we have to work hard to give you the right view. Yeah.
Investigative journalism is essential for working commerce. What are the biggest challenges that you face when pursuing investigative stories?
Biju, the pressures are always there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
The deadline pressure would be there,
exactly.
and
And also pressure from who you're investigating
yeah,
as a journalist.
yeah,
I'll give an example on an investigative story that I did for CNN IBN. And this was many years ago. This was, I think, in 2006. And it may sound like a soft story because it's a story connected to arts, visual arts, and paintings. But within that niche area of visual arts, it's a crime. And so I had done a report. It's you can watch it on YouTube. I'm not carrying a video of it right now. I had done a report on a dealer, an art dealer, selling me a fake MF Hussain. And that time, of course, MF Hussain was one of the top artists of the country, and his paintings would sell for 90 lakhs in a crore. So he had this go down. His front was being a framer. He would frame paintings for galleries and homes. You get a painting, you stretch a canvas, and you frame it. So he was actually a framer. That was his front. He had a शॉप इन लाजपत नगर, तो दुकान में वो पेंटिंग्स की फ्रेमिंग करता था और भेजता था गैलरी में और दूसरे घरों में जिन जिन की जो पेंटिंग्स हैं. So he said he has a go down in the basement below that framing shop. And he said, I have these two Hussains and I'll sell you one for 90 lakhs and one for 1 crore. So I went with my camera person. I posed as an art buyer undercover, and my camera person posed as my assistant. And he was carrying a buttonhole camera, and he was wearing a camera in his shirt, and I was doing all the talking, and my colleague who was posing as my assistant was recording all that conversation that I was having with that framer. And he was selling me one Hussain for 90 lakh rupees and the other was for about a crore rupees. And I showed that footage to MF Hussain. He was alive at that time, and he said, yes, one of these are fake. He's selling you a fake painting of mine. And we informed the police, the local police. They raided his shop, they confiscated the painting, and informed Hussein's family about it. So it was a police case, and it was a serious case within the niche area of the art world. And the threats that you face is that I was sent a legal notice by the framer, and there were demands that I present myself in court, and me and my colleagues at CNN IBN present the case in court and defend yourself. But this is something that you have to be prepared for. This is just one example. You can be taken to court, or you can have a threat of FIRs being filed against you. You can have a threat to life as well. There are political parties, or there are supporters of an establishment who will troll you on Twitter, who will send you a lot of hate messages. I get a lot of hate on Twitter. But this is something that you have to be prepared for. You've chosen a profession in which you would like to speak the truth and speak out. Uh, Not just speak, but speak out and stand for something. And you have to be mentally prepared for that. If you're getting scared, or if you're getting cowed down, if you think you're buckling under pressure, so you're in the wrong profession. You know.
that's right.
Researching on that stuff, like verification. So I just wanted to know that.
अलग अलग स्टोरीज का अलग टाइमलाइन होता है. अगर आप इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म कर रहे हैं उसमें आपको 3 हफ्ते भी लग सकते हैं, 3 महीने भी लग सकते हैं, बिकॉज यू आर gathering your process of news gathering becomes very deep in investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Undercover भी आप रहते हैं. अभी तो investigative journalism इतना हो नहीं रहा है. I think 2005 to 2013 में और up to 2010 में भी बहुत ज़्यादा investigative journalism हो रहा था. Till I think people started raising issues that you can't be shooting everything with a spy cam.
Yeah.
So there was a stop to that as well. But just with investigative journalism, हर story की एक timeline होती है. But yeah, current affairs का आप इतना लंबा timeline नहीं ले सकते. जैसे आज Delhi elections का counting day है. So you can't file your report 2 days later. आपको आज रात तक ही report file करनी है because the numbers are out. और उसमें you have to keep a deadline. That is when time is of the essence. आप दो दिन बाद नहीं बोल सकते कि हाँ भाजपा आज जीत गई. वो तो पता चल गया आज ही. मे बी 2 दिन बाद आप एनालिसिस कर सकते हैं कि why did आप lose. You can have an analysis maybe a week later or 2 days later. But what the headline is has to go out today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some headlines can be very tight. Like for me in television, I can say my shortest deadlines, like not headlines, some deadlines can be very tight. I think in TV journalism, you have such tight deadlines. Like literally, I'm not exaggerating, your deadlines can be 5 seconds. Like I'm reading a headline for another news, and in my earpiece, my producer will tell me, Seher, breaking news ho rahi hai, we have to go to Israel. So I have to figure what has happened in Israel. And by the time I come back, my face comes back on camera. I have to be prepared to give that news on what's happened in the Middle East and why it's happened and connect to the reporter. So then you have no deadline. You're just standing and thinking on your feet.
And print journalists follow television. And
In
we,
tighter deadlines.
yeah, we watch their deadline. Our print journalism has also evolved. We type it out and give it online. Sometimes we may have to change it. If possible, we may even have to record with our mobile camera.
Yeah. I think the lines have also blurred because जो print में file कर रहे हैं story वो उसी दिन in certain organizations digital media में भी अब video story डालेंगे और every platform has a digital platform.
Yeah.
Legacy print organizations have a digital platform for making videos, video news. Television is now also heavily into digital. So I think we're filing stories for all platforms now.
Yeah, it has converged.
It has converged. Yeah, yeah,
As we are from an engineering college, so I have a question.
yeah.
Like, is there any role of AI in journalism? Like, do you use AI for research purposes and all? Like in recent times.
You know, I've not seen this happening in newsrooms in India, and I'm very proud of it. You know, you could use Google search for news gathering if you're not in the field, but you cannot depend on what facts AI is giving you. AI can give you 47,000 Palestinians dead in the Middle East war, and somewhere else you can read 150,000 dead because technically there is no official figure yet. But that is what you cannot depend on AI. It really depends on what like the most accessible AI platform is Google search. So the good thing about the Google search platform is that whatever information that it's giving you in chapters, it's giving you a link of which article it is quoted from. So you should directly go to that article and verify. And I don't think AI should ever be used for journalism. There is a very prominent national news channel which uses an AI anchor. They use her for the headlines, the AI anchor Sana. She gives the headlines of the day, and it's atrocious. There was a stampede tragedy in one of the headlines, and she had a very pleasant expression on her face. It's an insult to the viewer's intelligence, and it's just an insult to journalism to use AI. I am very strongly opinionated about this, and I'm offended if any journalist would think that they want to use AI for stories that are connected to our lives. And journalism is very closely connected to humanity. It's a human profession. And I'm dead against using AI for journalism. It should not happen under any circumstance.
How things are going to change, we don't know. I was talking with a computer student and he was telling me, "Our can chat GTP write codes, computer codes? It can, and it is developing so much. Now you will know about what quantum computers are doing. So we don't know, but it can't replace human beings. That is the fact.
It's it's replacing anyway, but the thing is, how much do we want to take it?
Yeah,
You know, I think it's for humans also to put their foot down at a certain point and say, let's just get some real reports with real meat instead of AI.
but there are things which we cannot predict, and
Right.
we cannot stop also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for us, the biggest success of today's session would be if you would go back to your news feed and mobile phones on social media and think what you're watching, whether it is real news or fake news, and think twice in understanding that if you are consuming news, where are you consuming it from? Are you consuming it from a legit news organization, or if you're just consuming it from an influencer who's sitting and talking smartly? Every smart speaker in front of the camera doesn't mean that they're speaking stuff that they know about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be aware as citizens on how you are consuming your news, how you're taking it, and
Yeah.
where from. Thank you so much. Lovely. Thank you. All the best, guys.